My name is David Hamm. I got 25 years experience as a NASCAR engine builder, 7 years as a NASCAR jackman, and 5 years as a dealership technician. So if you want to check out my other channel, it's just called Hammscapes. That's where I work on equipment. And I'm going to be posting more videos about how to do, how to work on mowers and equipment and working on cars, like the old Monte Carlo that I actually have back in here right now because I'm doing a few things to the exhaust system, doing a little bit of wiring in there. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff I'll be doing on that channel. And I plan on getting busy on that pretty soon because right now the weather's turning good. I can come out here, open up the doors, and just go at it, which is pretty much what I did all day yesterday. And we also got busy here lately with doing some landscaping stuff going on. But anyway, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification because every Monday night at 7:30, I have the NASCAR chat live Q&A. Basically, ask questions. We talk about the race. We talk about the race this past, well, usually yesterday, and then we talk about the upcoming race, which would be the following weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about this. If anybody has any questions, go right ahead and throw them out there. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Auto Club 400, which happened yesterday out in Fontana, California, which is a really nice racetrack. It's nice. It's a nice area in California, if you like California, and it's paved all the way around the outside, plenty of parking areas and stuff. I'm not so sure about the track surface. It looked like it was a little bumpy to me. I meant to put that in my notes, but it looked like the drivers were just constantly fighting that bump. Looked like they actually come off got a little air in there. Sometimes it looked like to me. But so anyway, Tom asked the question, okay, what can you say? What's your opinion of the Toyota engines out HP us? I have a hard time believing that. Tom, I still haven't heard that. So, but the 18 did beat us pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at, I mean, you know this. You got to look at the whole package. I mean, even the drivers after the race, they were saying that car was better, meaning, and I mean, so you got to kind of have to look at that stuff too. And we're also, you know, maybe there is a little bit of difference. You know, you mentioned to me about the torque thing. You know, maybe there's something there. I mean, we're still kind of, it's new to the Ford too. I mean, it's new to everybody, but you know, this package with the big spoiler, you know, more downforce, you know, the car setups, you know, all that stuff can actually affect. I mean, here's the deal. In the past, we've had drivers, I'm not going to say complain. I guess we have had them in the past complain about horsepower, but we could give them the same thing in a different car and they're like, this is the best horsepower I've ever had. You know what I mean? So it really all depends on how the car's handling. And we can look at telemetries and all that stuff nowadays. But I'll tell you, somebody who used to be bad about complaining about the horsepower is Robbie Gordon. He used to, and he would say it when I was his jackman in '97. He would talk about the Robert Yates horsepower blowing by him and that kind of stuff. So what did they eventually put him in a car, and what does he do? He still complains. So it's just, you know, it's hard to say. You've been around, you've watched this sport long enough to know that about the cars, but I haven't heard anything. So you could direct it towards me, what you've actually heard about the horsepower thing. So Rachel says, what is the deal with Brad and Joey? They seem like more like brothers than Kyle and Kurt. I wish they have helped each other more at the end. It looked to me like Joey said it didn't matter. It didn't hurt him, but it was almost kind of like when they asked Brad, he was almost made it sound like it hurt him. So my opinion on that, at the end of the race there, they're racing each other, you know, they're both on the win, but it just, they could have maybe hit each other a little bit as far as maybe not racing each other so hard and wearing out the tires. So to me, it probably did hurt a little bit, but you know, they're out there to race, they're out there to win. They're not going to just drive around and say, hey, why don't you get behind me or I'll get behind you. I mean, maybe sometimes they should, but I think they're still learning this new package, and they're actually, you know, they're just wanting to win because that's what they do. They're winners. They've already got a race under their belt that they won this year, so they're already into the playoffs. So, maybe they could get together, and maybe they had a meeting today or tomorrow. Maybe they'll have their meeting and talk about it. Hey, what can we do to right now beat this Toyota? Because the Toyota's come on pretty strong. So, hello, mother. My mom, Jackie Hamm's watching. Good to see you on here. I saw you a little bit ago, but I'll see you again after a while. Come out and see my shop. See what kind of a mess I got going on out here. So, all right. So we had the finish order in the race. The Auto Club 400 in California, Fontana, California, was Kyle Busch won. And we'll talk about how many times did we hear KB. I'm not going to say the full name. How many times did we hear that during the race? I've heard that mentioned many times, and on Twitter too. So, Joey Logano finished second, Brad Keselowski third, Kevin Harvick fourth, Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch sixth, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon finished 10th, which, I must say that was somewhat impressive because he was sick, and I believe he had the pole too for the race. So, good for him. He avoided some of there wasn't a whole lot of wrecks. There was a few, but not anything that took out a bunch of cars. So you can't really say, he had a good finish because he avoided wrecks, but he was there at the end. There was a little bit of strategy in the pits and things, and trying to stay out of trouble, not getting speeding penalties and things like that. Oh yeah, hello, Dad. Dad's watching too. Carl Hamm Jr. drove a truck, same company for 30 years, and the same company my grandfather drove for 35 years down in Charlotte. Very impressive, million-mile horsepower. Paul Rodriguez says, "Hey, Paul, day one at Pocono, Robbie Gordon in the 28 kept looping the car on the straightaway because he couldn't handle Yates' horsepower." Yes, I believe that. I remember something about that. He finally got him in a Yates car, and he couldn't quite handle it. I'll show you my coffee mug I got here from Ford around the Christmas time. I guess this is when we won the championship. So it was definitely a year to celebrate. So, all right. So SC Pyro Kid says, how would you think the racing would be if NASCAR gave, let me put these on, that might help. If NASCAR gave the horsepower back and kept the air ducts and big spoilers. Well, let's see here. If they kept all that and then put the horsepower back, I don't know. That's a good question, but I think part of it, what they're trying to do is cut down on some costs too. So, if we don't have more times, theoretically, we're pushing them to the limit, but we do have to try to get 2 to 3 races out of these engines. Well, one of the big reasons for the horsepower drop. So it would be interesting to see. I mean, maybe they could do that in like an all-star race at Charlotte or something, just one of the other races, like the beginning of the season. Well, that would be at a play track. But hey, that's not a bad idea if they could do something like that. Just do it for certain races. That way they could still keep the cost down. So thanks for the question. That was good. Let's see now. Okay, there's my wife. She says, I lost that coffee mug when you gave it to me last week. Tracy, where are you at? You're supposed to be out here helping me. Anyway, I'll come in there in a little bit and eat some dinner. It'll be good, I'm sure. So the race had 4 caution flags for 22 laps worth of cautions. It was 18 lead changes among 9 drivers. So the most being Kyle Busch led 7 times, 134 laps. Brad Keselowski 2 times with 42 laps. Denny Hamlin 3 times with 8 laps. Eric Almirola 1 time with 7 laps. Joey Logano 2 times 3 laps. William Byron 1 time 3 laps. Ryan Blaney 1 time 2 laps. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 1 time 1 lap. So hearing Ryan Blaney and Ricky Stenhouse, they had some pretty good runs. They looked pretty strong. They looked fast. So I think that you're definitely going to see those two winning some races this year. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that because I really like to see race cars come back. And I'd like to see Ryan Newman get up there. I saw him a few times yesterday, but I'd like to see him get up there and do something. Maybe we'll see him come out at Bristol. Looking forward to that. We'll see. So Paul Rodriguez is a virgin engine better than a third-time rebuild? Well, not necessarily. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by. I know what you mean by virgin engine, but they sometimes run better the second time they run. I mean, they just they seal up good. That's where as an engine builder, and you're building the engine to make it last. You have to do certain things to make the parts last, to make them be able to stay sealed up and to run good for the second and the third time now. So it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I mean, we can change the heads, the springs, and things like that to make them last, to make sure they're not going to do something bad, like drop a valve or something that we don't want to see. But Tom Robinson says, regardless of what they say, cars to me are slower to me. Yeah, I mean, they may be. Well, I would say they are. Yeah, probably so. But I do like the racing. I do like the four wide that I'm seeing, and I like how this was impressive to me. And I'm not a big Kyle Busch fan, but I respect him as a driver because whenever the way he was able to move in and out between cars, and I see Brad and Joey doing it. Even Stenhouse. I mean, Stenhouse is putting it in there. But I like to see that in a race. I don't like to see where, well, we got to stay behind this car because if we get out of line, we're gonna, wreck, or we're gonna go to the back of field. I mean, that's fine and all at a big plate track, but I like seeing the racing, and I think the fans are like what they're seeing. They're starting to come back to the tracks. It sounds like it's making it more exciting for them. Tom says, I would say they would produce more power, two-time being a little more free. Yes, that's true too. I mean, they free up a little bit, less friction in there, so that helps. Robert, I was wondering if the big teams preferred a new engine or rebuild. You know what? They don't really say. I mean, here's the deal. We have to run, we have to pick. That's just one of the things that we have to strategize. You might say you want to run a fresh engine at a place like Atlanta and then turn around and run a second run at Bristol, stuff like that. I mean, it kind of works out. It's not too bad. We're making it happen, and it does help. I'd say it does help some that the horsepower's come down. The more horsepower you have on an engine, the more wear. I mean, you look at drag racing engines, they got as much horsepower in one cylinder just about as these NASCAR engines. So yeah, but they have to rebuild them after a lap. They go out there, they run, they come in the pits, they tear the engine down and put new pistons in. So all right, so we started something new last week. Tom gave me this idea about a racing 101 with Hamm. And so I was going to go over okay, Tom, I'll answer your question right quick. Tom, do you know what happened to the 14 car engine if it was the engine? Yeah, I do know. So, hey, Heather and Jeremy. Yeah, but we can't really talk too much about that stuff. But we were making some, I wouldn't even say corrections, but we're working on that stuff. But thanks for the question. Racing 101 with Hamm. Kyle Busch ties Petty. All right, that's the question. And I know you've all heard it. We heard it during the race. We heard it last week about Kyle Busch tying Richard Petty. I want to know your opinion on that because I have my opinion. And I'll go ahead and tell you my opinion on it is, like I said earlier, I think Kyle Busch is a heck of a race car driver. And I think Richard Petty was also. I think they're in a different time. Obviously, there's a lot of difference in the cars now than what they used to be. I think when Richard Petty was driving, he had some competition, but there was races where he would be on the lead lap by himself, So I would say that Kyle Busch probably has more competition now. But if you look at it, he's won 53 Cup races, and he has won. Let me get to my list here. All right, Kyle Busch has won 53 Cup races, 94 Xfinity, 53 trucks. Okay, Petty won 200 Cup wins. Harvick has 45 Cup wins compared to Kyle Busch's 53 and 47 Xfinity. David Pearson had 105 Cup wins. And I believe David Pearson's, well, I know his stats were actually higher for the number of races that he ran in compared to the number of races he won. His percentage actually beat Petty's on Richard Petty's. I thought he had more Xfinity wins than that. So anyhow, that's my take on that. So I don't know. I don't like hearing he's got 200 wins because, most of them were in the truck series. And I mean, that's fine with in the Xfinity. So that's good though. I mean, he gets out there, he wins the races, and then he comes back the next day and wins the races. He's really good at that. And sometimes he runs 3 days in a row. And like his brother Kurt Busch said after the race, that's a big deal because it'll wear you down as a driver to come back the next day and win, after you just ran a full race the day before. So that's definitely a hard thing to accomplish. But I think a lot of it was, maybe some of it was dramatized because, it's a hallmark. It's or what do you call it? A milestone to reach. And he reached it, and not a lot of drivers have. So I think but it's good for the sport. And some people have. So does anybody have a differing opinion on that? But yeah, hey man, Rachel and Terry is different as night and day to the king. Yes, that's for sure. Rachel says, I wish Kyle Busch had more of Richard Petty's personality, be humble and kind. Yes, I could see that. Paul Rodriguez, Kyle Busch, and Petty. Yeah. Kyle Busch is over in the 3 Series. Yes. So, and Linda, when he races with kids, of course he can win. Yeah, I mean all that adds into it, But he reached that milestone, but not the same milestone as the king. So, and he sounded like he was a little bit defensive about it after the race, talking about the 200 wins, and people will say that, and I'm just giving my opinion. That's the way I see it. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. Everybody's got their own opinions. So, but yeah, I was on the radio last Thursday night on the sports recap show on WAME talking about who I thought was going to be, who would win, who would get the top 3 in Fontana. And I said, of course, I said Penske cars. And I wanted to say Blaney, but I only had 3 choices. But my choices: Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, and Kyle Busch. Not that I said I wanted that Kyle Busch to win, but I threw that out there because he is on a roll and he's definitely doing good. So you can't really count Kyle Busch out. So in talking about that, let's see who's leading the points right now. Kyle Busch is leading the points, and we got Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick, Eric Almirola, Martin Truex, Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch, and Ryan Blaney. And I'll tell you what's promising about that is how many Fords are up there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 in the top 10. That's pretty good. And I don't have the top 15 run down, but I think it's the top 16 that actually go to the next phase in the playoffs. So I think that's going to be really good when we get down to the season. We have, 10 Fords in the top 16 or something like that. I could see that happening. So back to my 101, my Hamm 101. I got to talk about something else, but I was going to mention that Darrell Waltrip mentioned Kyle Busch 60 times, 42 times in stage 3 alone. Mike Joy mentioned 43 times, and Gordon 42 times. The pit reporters mentioned Kyle Busch 80 times. Maybe somebody's counting how many times I'm mentioning today. So anyway, that was a total of 225, not including post-race. Next closest was 42 mentions. Just thought that was interesting because I'm out here. I was listening to the race. I was working on a car and I had it on the TV over here. And I remember thinking, man, Daryl just keeps on talking about Kyle Busch. And of course, me being a Ford fan, I'd much rather hear, Keselowski or Joey Logano or Ryan Blaney or Ricky Stenhouse, or any of our Ford cars. Y'all know me. Y'all know that's the way it is. So, Kyle used to own his own Busch series team with his own equipment, never won a race in it. He's in his good equipment. All right. He's as good as his equipment. Terry Quinn, Kyle should be more positive role models. So many kids, M&M car, stop being such a sore loser and crybaby. Okay, so yeah, I mean, all that's the PR stuff that they'll have to deal with. Yeah, I would agree with that. That we the kids especially are involved with the M&M car. We used to have M&Ms as a sponsor at Robert Yates Racing, and they were a great sponsor. I got to meet the Mars ladies down in Talladega one year. It was Victoria and what's the other one? Tracy's out here now. I don't know if you were coming out, but anyway, turn it down. Let me grab my notes. Tracy has joined us. Hello, Tracy. You can follow DHammiam.
We're going to Daytona Saturday, so I'm going to do a couple different types of videos while we're there. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, we'll be doing the NASCAR live chat next Monday night, live from
Daytona Beach.
Daytona Beach.
And if you looked,
Florida,
on David's history, we did one from Destin as well. We were in Destin in September, so we wouldn't do that again.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to go over. We talked about the Auto Club 400, and if anybody has any questions about that race or anything, I'm going to go ahead and go over the next race, which will be Martinsville. So everybody's saying hi, Tracy.
Where's the little green deer?
Yeah. So on good news, we had a win for the Fords in the Xfinity race with Cole Custer. Keep on winning. They're calling him the California Kid now, which I believe used to be Jeff Gordon. Used to hear that a lot from him, or Indiana. I always got confused. Like he lived in Indiana, but he was originally from California. Jeff Gordon. So, but that's what we'll be. Paul says come visit when we're in Florida. We'll see about that. That's a good possibility. So here's the Martinsville track. We're going to go over some of the facts for Martinsville. It was founded in 1947 by Clay Earls. And coming up soon, I'm also going to have a quiz. The only track to host a cup race every year since its inception in 1949. Track voted by fans as the top bargain. And when Martinsville first opened, it only had 750 seats, but over 6,000 fans. Could you imagine that? 750 seats, and you got 6,000 people there. Today it has 60,000 seats. All right.
Who does Tom not claim?
So he says we don't claim him, David. Who's he talking about?
Who is he talking about?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Anyhow, let's see. I'm starting a little chilly.
You think?
I was going to show you my historic, nostalgic hat here. It's a little tight. Could you imagine wearing this to the race? That looks like a big old billboard hat.
Big old billboard for a big old forehead.
Anyway, my friend Jim gave this to me. Jim's actually the one that owns this car behind me, and then this other car over here that I got to pull the engine out of this one and go through it. And this car. Okay. Anyway, how about that? Oh, Jeff Gordon, Tom says. Oh, because I said Indiana. That's right, Tom. Tom says we don't claim him. Speaking of Tom, look what I got, Tom.
Who's yours?
Tom gave me this toboggan. All right. So, yeah, it's definitely a big old trucker hat. All right. See you there, Heather and Jamie. Got it. All right. All right. So, look back to the quiz. Quiz is coming up. Just hang tight. All right. Red Byron won the first race, beating Lee Petty and Ray Erickson by 3 laps of a 200 lapper, and there were only 15 cars in the field. Okay. Other than being paved in 1955, the track has kept the same configuration. You know, it's like a paperclip type. You got the one, and then you make the big turn, and then you drag race in, and you make a little bigger turn, and you drag race to the end. So I remember back in the day building the qualifiers, and I would increase the torque on those engines with my cam timing, of course. All right. Other than Martinsville's the oldest, 138 races, 667 different Cup drivers have raced there. 667 different drivers. All right. So here's the quiz part. Who won the most races at Martinsville? I'll ask that one first. Who won the most races? And I'll go ahead and tell you that he doesn't race anymore. Super Jason, it's getting a little bit chilly here. The wind was blowing earlier, but right now I'm sitting out in my shop and I got the door open, and I'm actually using the internet off of my phone. That seems to work the best as far as keeping the quality. And I moved to this side of the shop because it seems to pick up better from the towers. We don't have good internet out here. We're so far out in the country.
Well, I've got a long sleeve shirt,
Rachel
sweatshirt,
Rodman,
and a jacket. So yes, I'm cold.
All right, so Rachel Rodman got the answer correct.
Richard Petty, she said.
Yes, Richard Petty. Okay, so the next question goes along with this. Who was the youngest driver? Who was the youngest driver to win at Martinsville? I feel like I'm doing I don't have a monster. Maybe that's what I need to have.
What are you doing?
I'm doing like the drivers do whenever they win a race.
Mm-hmm.
They sip out of usually out of a Monster or a Gatorade or something like that.
Scott's watching, but he's not chatting.
He's not participating. Well, hey, Scott, hope things are going good for you there in Florida. I'm going to be down there soon.
Next week.
Okay, so the answer to that question was, who was the youngest driver to win? Is Richard Petty. 10 months and 8 days. That record still stands today.
So he was the youngest and won the most?
Yep. And who has led the most laps at Martinsville? You probably already know the answer to this. I guess I'm kind of going with a Richard Petty theme, after all this 200 number thing. So Richard Petty, he holds the most laps at 27,891. Now, could you imagine driving around Martinsville leading? Oh, wait a minute. It said who has led the most laps? No. That's probably who. No, I'm sorry. That's who has the most laps, not who has led. I can't imagine leading that many laps. 27,891 times going around Martinsville. Anyway, that's pretty impressive right there. And 20 of 138 races have been won from the pole. Petty Enterprises has won 19 races, and that's more than any other team.
Scott says Kyle Busch.
Well, we're not talking about Kyle Busch anymore. I'm just kidding. Scott, if you missed it earlier,
Scott.
I was talking about how many times his name was mentioned during the race, and then I said, well, is anybody counting how many times I'm saying it tonight? Okay, so, well, there's some good guesses, though. There was Richard Petty, Rachel says, and then Jeff Gordon, Paul, and then Linda Jinks says Joey. I mean, those are great answers because very well could have. And I'm sure some of the other tracks, they were the younger drivers to win there for sure. And so we're talking about Kyle, but someone in the Ford group on Facebook brought up a good point regarding Kyle and his 200 wins. They never mentioned that in Xfinity and truck he is raced. We kind of hit on that earlier, and so it is what it is. But hey, he's got the wins, and he's putting up the numbers, and he definitely gives us Ford's something to go after right now because he's coming on strong. So we're just going to have to get a little bit stronger and maybe we should gang up. You know, like the rumor we heard about at Daytona, about the Toyotas and the Chevrolets ganging up on Ford. Maybe the Ford should just pull together and go after them, right? All right. So if anybody got any more questions, I think that's all I got for my notes now.
Gotta get my cup back.
Okay. Oh, geez. Come out here to get her cup. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and click like and subscribe, and stay tuned for next Monday night. We'll be doing a live from Daytona. We got to find a pretty cool place to go and do it from. Maybe we can do that. Do the live from the beach at 7:30 at night. Scott, is it still daylight down there at 7:30?
Yes.
Okay. Or even
I'm not Scott, but yes.
Yeah.
Who's Scott Feldhouse?
Or even yes.
Somebody else said something.
He says Kyle hasn't had JGR stuff in the truck series, just KBM stuff. Yeah, he's got his own team, Cowboys Motorsports, down there off of Mazeppa Road.
Mazeppa.
Yeah.
Mooresville.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So no, I was strictly reading what somebody's opinion on that was. So, you know, that kind of everybody's got their opinion, like I said earlier, and you know, you're welcome to comment and give me yours here, because that's what keeps us all going. That's what keeps NASCAR interesting. You know, if a Ford won every week, I mean, I'd love it. But if a Ford won every week, you know, there's going to be complaints, and a lot of the Chevrolet and Toyota fans would be happy. So we got to go with it. So Scott says when we ran his KBM Nationwide team, he was whipping JGR cars, and coach told him not to race KBM stuff in the Nationwide series. Okay. Well, that's good. We get Shrub in the Ford and we'll be set. Yes. Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe one of these days, who knows? But, you know, I think we got some good drivers coming up through the ranks, like Cole Custer, and, you know, maybe Austin Cindric will do good. Anyway, I think that they've made some strides in the right direction there, instead of some that we've had that weren't working out. I think they probably had too many chances. I think they finally see that it's very important that we have to have hungry for winning drivers and start them in the Busch Series and let them come up through the ranks. And I think Tony Stewart knows that more than anybody, because when he started out, he was going to be driving. I think the coach put him in for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. That's been a while back, but I remember that being the case with Tony Stewart. He was going to make him go through the ranks. All right. Death race needs to be a thing. Just saying. I'm not sure what you mean. You talking about a figure 8 race? All right.
Death, last man standing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that would be kind of like a figure 8 race.
Or like the
demolition derby.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. About. I think Tracy would do very well on a demolition derby race.
Bumper cars. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and stay tuned. Hit that bell so every time I go live, you'll be able to see it and join in for the Q&A. And definitely join us next Monday, because we'll be, like I said, we'll be down in Daytona Beach. Yay. Maybe we could go over to the racetrack and broadcast from there. We'll see. You know what? Monday night I might be out on a boat.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. All right then. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.